Hello, welcome. This week, we are the Dungeon Crawl. That is us. He's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
Welcome to this impromptu version, not really, of the Dungeon Crawl, where I do have a couple of confessions to make this week, and we'll get to them at some point,
God.
Ryan.
Okay, we're starting off.
Or you know what?
Pretty personal.
Yeah,
here.
no, we're starting off heavy. As the world changes, so do I.
I got some too to make. Want to be honest?
Oh, I mean, why don't you go first? I'm a little embarrassed about mine.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a little hurt about it too. I'm going to be honest. Anyone who's known me for a long time knows that I absolutely love lemonade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Braxton knows this. Every time we're together, I go out and grab lemonade and we hang out and, and it's always just standard, kind of, I'm not going to name any companies, but it's usually just kind of standard lemonade. And,
Kind of scared.
well, lately I've kind of been drinking strawberry instead. I almost feel like I've been cheating on a significant other.
Now, see, I feel like you're undermining my confession by how simple that one is.
Okay, all right. Well, I buried my soul. What's up with yours, man?
Cheating on flavors is fine, Ryan.
Oh.
You can find a new love. Nobody will judge
Thank you,
Except
Priest
for-
Braxton.
except for a company whose name rhymes with Minute Maid. I'm just kidding. They won't sue us. We'll be fine. But my confession.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Um,
I'm here for you. No matter how
I guess
big or
it's a
small.
little more on topic. It's a big issue here. So
What's up?
I cannot, and I don't think I'll ever be able to, finish a one shot in one shot. And you've seen this firsthand, I think, twice.
True.
So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to need some help with that, and I will need your advice this time around.
Well, how about I'm not the best one shot. I've only done 4. How about we summon
a lot.
somebody?
Okay.
Do
Do you have somebody in mind?
Yeah, but I'm not the summon king here. You're the one that always yells people and summons them in. I feel like that should be your job.
Okay.
You have someone in mind?
I guess I do.
Perfect.
These people are slightly familiar with her. You know what? Let me hold on.
Yeah, step away from the mic, please.
JD!
Hello?
Oh, hi.
Oh,
Hi.
That was a very
Hello,
graceful
this-
entrance after that.
What? I may be an all-powerful warlock who can summon people from the depths of
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard you calling. I just thought that maybe I should step in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you also take care of our, social media, and you make
Yeah.
posts of the very funny things that I say.
Braxton and I can't figure it out.
I'm socially inept with those sorts of things, but I'm also even more so terrible at making one-shots because I just improv most of it, which I think you probably can do on
They're
those.
also not one
You can
shots. They're
They're
2
Yeah.
shots, 3 shots, possibly.
they've never ended, so they're indefinite shots.
Indefinite.
And
All right.
you're always telling me, about
Mm-hmm.
the sessions that you get to run when you're doing your D&D with Kenneth, or he can't do a session that time, or it's a holiday.
Yeah.
You'll do a one shot, and you always tell me about your ideas. And
Yeah, they sound great.
it's really awesome. So I figured, since we've had Kenneth on here before, we would bring you here so that you could teach us about them,
Yeah.
because I don't know
Yeah.
things.
I mean, I for sure could. I feel like I'm about 83% sure that I could get you into a comfortable spot of running a one shot in
Okay.
one shot.
That's pretty
So
good.
if I do math, that 17% is kind of worrying me. So let's see how this goes.
Well, I mean, that 17% all kind of depends on you.
Oh,
That's
crap.
fair.
Yeah.
It might be a bigger percentage. We don't know here.
Yeah.
I don't
should-
even know where to
We'll
start.
find
No, I
out.
think
We'll
we
find out
should-
as we go.
I think we should start with, we did this with Kenneth, but kind of your D&D background. We don't know anything about, we do, but the people listening don't know
For the
anything
sake of
about
the
you.
podcast, we know absolutely nothing about
Yeah,
you.
so teach us.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who gives you the right to tell me about one shots?
Well, for this is a little bit of a secret that we don't really tell people. I've been playing D&D longer than Kenneth has.
What?
No.
Yeah.
We
Just
need to delete that episode.
just a little bit. Just like I think by like a few sessions, which isn't really a lot. It might have been like 1 or 2 sessions or something, but I was integrated into the world of D&D about a year or 2 prior to him actually getting into it.
I mean, you even work at a nerd shop, don't you?
I do. I work at a local comic book shop where I get to
Nice.
sell pretty dice and books to people.
So you're working with the merchandise all the time.
Right, yeah, with
Yeah.
your grubby hands.
Yeah,
Man.
I've been deemed the local dice goblin.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need all sorts of dice for one-shots, as if I'm playing a character I have no idea how to play as, which I've done in
Mhm.
Every
annual
one
of
shot?
Ryan Ice Blue. Every one-shot.
Yeah. That's
You
what
need-
one-shots
you
are
never
fun
know how
for,
many
man,
dice
as a
you need.
player. Just try stuff
Well,
out.
Maybe that's why I'm awful at one-shots, because I always want to play the same thing.
That's
I
just
feel
you
like you're
in a
too
nutshell.
yeah, you're too in your own head about it.
That's probably what it is. So how
Yeah.
can I fix that? What even is a one-shot for people that
Yeah,
probably
let's start
don't
there.
even know?
Well, a one shot is basically just like so like you have this idea for a game for like this really long campaign and stuff, but maybe you don't
Sure.
know quite how to do it because doing a campaign is a big responsibility and it's a big thing to work on. So
Uh-huh.
if you just kind of compact that into like a storybook and you just like go to one chapter or so and you have this little arc for this chapter, you can go through that entire chapter in a session and then maybe down the road you can connect your one shots to create a campaign. That's what I like to do personally. Is I like to base them kind of like children's storybooks, like how there's like you don't really have to get into the backstory of the land or the backstory of the people, but you introduce them and you're like, this is my job. This is what I do. Here's my problem. What can you do to help? And then
But now you don't start with like, all right, with like different pictures and plan out the whole arc of what your one-shot campaign will be. It just kind of ends up becoming one.
yeah, it for me personally, it just kind of becomes that I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of different things, so I'll write down a whole bunch of different notes, and sometimes I'll patch them together to be parts of each other. So some of my one shots are connected, whereas other ones aren't, and they're just goofs.
So in what cases do you want to do a one-shot with your friends rather than start a campaign?
What do you mean? Because I personally don't like doing campaigns. I've tried
why
in the
is that?
past. It just never worked for me. I don't know what exactly it was. I have a problem with making too much lore too quickly and then
Sure.
not really knowing where to go from there. And I find it's much easier to be able to do that and just compact it down into one session instead of trying and struggling to make it go on and on and on and not really like having a way to do that with the world, if that makes sense.
It's like having too much creative energy to harness it into one campaign.
Yes.
You just make so much stuff that you want to be like, pop, here's a one-shot in this world, here's one here, here's one there.
That's exactly what it's like for me.
Yeah, for the one shots that we've had, and Braxton can attest to this, is basically if I have decided that I just didn't have time that week to physically prepare for whatever the upcoming session is. And so that's when Braxton or one of our other players has done a one shot. The times I've done a one shot is because we were missing a player and didn't want to continue without them. So I just grabbed a cool anecdotal history point from the world and tossed it in as a one shot,
Mhm.
which I always think is a blast to do.
Yeah, I actually
See-
have that written down on my handy dandy tablet. That is a perfect tip that I have told people to do in the past. Is when if you don't know where to go at the moment, have a little side quest or something, just a little something to get the juices flowing.
Now, both of you are talking as if there is like an overarching idea or campaign that you're pulling stuff from or compiling things in. What if you're like me and you're literally like, I need to shit out a one shot. I have no frame of reference. I haven't been taking notes. Where the hell do I begin? What do I do? What do I need?
So I'm kind of 50-50. Part of me has like this world that I just have been building, I feel like my entire life, because I've always wanted to, I don't know, write a story, and D&D is the perfect way to do that. But also, whenever you have writer's block or something and you can't think of anything, it's really good to just like read something or watch something. I get a lot of inspiration from manga and anime, Braxton. So
Oh no.
What are we talking about?
Outnumbered.
if you get inspiration from something like that and you're like, that would be really cool to base something off of, write it down really quick so you don't lose that little piece, And then you can just build upon it. And you could be like, oh, this character could actually be a bad guy. This character could actually be a monster. Just take your idea that you got from something and just build it into something you think would be super fun and super easy to do for you.
I think one shot's also a cool way to try out as a DM different things. Like you could run an evil one shot just for shits and giggles. Yeah.
I have done that. I tricked my players actually because I made a big show of being like, I want you all to be evil players. And it I didn't make it come into play until the very end, which I'll get into that later because I'll tell you about that. It was very fun.
I want to hear about this bamboozle.
I'm intrigued.
Kind of bamboozled them.
There's also, I mean, like lots of stuff on the old DMs Guild and lots of modules and stuff. Basically, are literally, I mean, they're just one shots, but of course you could toss them into a campaign. But they are one shots in its basic form. There's lots of cool books and stuff. Like I have a book just sitting, staring me in the face over there behind my computer monitors.
Does it have eyes?
It does. Mine? Yeah, they're terrifying. It's called the Mini Dungeon Tome. And they're literally, I think each page that you open is a whole dungeon, and they're basically set up as one-shot ideas you can just pull out, which I have used.
Yeah.
They're fun.
I need that.
You can purchase it.
It's kind of like Rolled and Told as well, if you've ever read any of that stuff. Rolled and Told is very good for that sort of stuff.
They read. I don't. For those of you that don't read...
You have problems because, first of all, a lot of these rules for playing D&D are in word form. So
I have them all memorized. I had Ryan's.
It's impressive. I'll give him that much.
That's a lot to memorize.
No, it's fine. I have a very good memory. I was cursed by some sort of sea-dwelling patron in the one shot I did.
But seriously, I mean, reading and maybe like Jamie said, watching stuff is a great way to just get quick little ideas that you can flesh out and turn into all sorts of stuff. Steal constantly.
So my problem is the ideas I get. Like I can get a bunch of inspiration from everywhere. I watch a bunch of anime, or like I've just recently blew through all of Black Clover, even though it's mind numbing. I love turning my brain off and watching it. I had then read through all of the manga, so I'm like, demons, bruh. They're really fun and cool.
All right, make an Abyssal campaign, man. Abyssal, check it out of the Abyss. Shot. There you go.
That's an idea, but I'll start planning for it. I'm like, okay, I got to do this one shot now. It's really quick, and I got to get it out. I don't have an ending. And I'll probably fail somewhere along the line to create a good sort of flow of a quest, an arc, a thing to do, and successfully make it into a one-shot. So,
see, this makes sense on why you've never finished the one-shot, because you have no ending. You just keep going.
Yeah, that's what happens.
You got to make
too much fun.
You're Stephen King, man.
Yeah, it's very easy to get carried away and stuff.
Yes.
What do you plan the ending most of the time?
So I will say that what you're basically doing is a mini campaign, or a long shot, as I like to call it personally, and that is incredibly valid. Like, you can do that. I think it's really fun to have, like, here's my DMing style, what it would be like for a campaign, but just compact. What I do, personally, let me scroll down to my notes. Whenever I create a one-shot, basically, I start with quite literally a skeleton of just like, these are the beats that I want to have. I don't know where they're going to be yet, but I want these things to be in the story.
Now, how many beats would you say is too many?
I think it depends on the session. Honestly, you could have as many beats as you want or as little beats as you want, as long as you can add in enough fluff to really flesh it out.
That's brave. I'd add too many beats and then I wouldn't finish it.
Well, see, the thing about me is I can be quite hyper. So sometimes I do add a lot of beats, but if the people are going too fast, all of that extra fluff really helps them to go longer into the session, so they don't just blow through it in 20 minutes. But if they're going super, super slow, you can start cutting all that fluff out that you don't need, and that gets them through it quicker. So you can still finish it in one shot as long as you have enough backup to support you.
Okay. All right. So one of these beats, is it almost always the end? Do you always have that one in there?
Mainly what I do, I don't really know why. I think most people start with the end and they build backwards. I start with
Ryan does that.
I start with the very first beat, and then I start with the very last beat, and then I make them meet in the middle.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I think
That's smart.
it's a good way to tackle. You can see point A, point B, how you get there, throw some
Yeah,
stuff in
so
there.
it's like, this
Yeah.
is where I want them to be, and this is where they currently are. How do I get them there, but also make it fun and interesting? Which, that's where all the
Okay.
fluff comes in.
And how complex would you make these? Like, are you having some crazy
that's my
political
question.
intrigue going on, or is that too much to tackle in, let's say, like a 5-hour one shot?
You can. I think that is another thing that really depends on the person. I myself don't really like doing political sort of stuff, even in D&D,
Hell
because
yeah.
I get very confused about things super easy. So I just like silly things and fun things, or like I really like doing things with a theme of horror, which basically all my one-shots have a theme of horror in them because that's just my vibe. But you for sure can do very political one-shots. It will be harder because you have to establish the world, you have to establish what is going on in the world and why these political things are happening and how you have to fix them. And that's a lot of information to give in a one-shot.
Yeah, that's a pretty big challenge for your players. And
Yeah.
I would say if you're a writer and you're open to trying to tastefully handle exposition, this could be a good, difficult task for you.
Yeah.
That leads me to, do we, like, for one shots, you've got a group that you know, and Ryan and I have a group that we know. So we've done our session 0 with that group of people. But for one shots, do you need to have like a micro session 0 where you chat a bit? What does that look like?
Not really. So, like, we have a text chain. So I'll text them and I'll be like, hey, we're doing this one shot. This is the general theme. Like, it's going to be, I don't know, near the ocean. If you want to have an oceany character, it's going to be in the mountains. If you want to play like a centaur goat or something. Or I'll text them personally. I'll be like, hey, what magic item are you going to pick? Or like, hey, what's your alignment going to be? And I can ask them some certain questions to help fill out my beats, but I'll basically be like, be this level. If you have any questions about any races or classes you want to be, message me. But for the most part, anything really goes. Because I am currently in 4 campaigns.
Jesus.
Buh.
Yeah. Which 3 of them I do bi-weekly. So
Should we quit?
Hard to handle
Right.
one.
She seems the expert, not I.
oh no, I'm always player. I in no way know that much about DMing, but like whenever the DMs, as you can imagine, get very tuckered out and tired, I'll step in and I'll be like, "Oh, I'll run a one shot for you." Or like if it's around a holiday, it's just known that that's kind of what I do, just so that there is a set break for the DMs, so they don't have to say like, "I'm kind of tired, will you step in?" It's just like, you have a break right here. Just chill. It's fine.
So you mentioned in that about character creation, and for all the one shots I've done, I think Braxton did this too. Is
Played a
We
warlock,
have-
and that was it.
fair, yeah, true. He always does that.
Ain't a fighter.
But, I mean, as when he
Hey.
was the DM, this is what he did, and our
Okay.
other player did this too.
I wanted to ask this.
I'm stealing your thunder.
How dare you?
We've always made the like the DM had made the characters and just said who wants this, who wants that, yada yada, and given the backstory. And Wizards of the Coast does this with a lot of their modules as well. That way, the characters can be integrated into the story and have
Yes.
the players for a quick one shot at least care about what's happening a little bit more. Would you recommend that, or do you think it doesn't really? I guess obviously it depends on the one shot, but is there a type of style you prefer?
I think that can be very touchy, just because you really have to trust the person who's running the one shot, which obviously in my group, we all like very much care for each other and trust each other. I have been in a one shot where we were given our identities and we didn't even know them until we were playing. Like we started playing and then the person gave us our identities, and it is very interesting, but there's a certain line that you have to make sure you don't cross where like you can't just give the players nothing to work with. You
Yeah.
can give them a whole bunch of stats in front of them and say this is you, but that's just a paper. You know, you have to actually flesh it out and be like, this is who you are and this is a snippet of your backstory. Just
Yeah,
give them a
it's-
little bit of something.
It's tough to RP already if you've spent
Yeah.
hours creating your character. If you're not, like a theater student, it's even
I was
tougher
gonna
if
say
someone
that.
tosses it in front of your face within 10 minutes. Says, all right, this is who you are for the next 3 hours. Learn it.
Yeah.
I'd say if you have a group of people who constantly do acting exercises or improv or are very comfortable jumping into new characters and you know all of them are, feel free to write, like, if I had that situation, I would write these characters, their personalities, and a couple NPCs they're connected to. And I'd be comfortable giving them that a day in advance going.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. You
like
just
when-
don't want to wait until the day of while you're playing the game. This is who you are.
Like when Daniel, one of our players, did a one-shot for us, he made all of our characters and had actually quite some intricate stuff going on.
Yeah.
And he sent me one. The character was brothers with Braxton and had a secret agenda to thwart everyone else's plans and like turn evil and everything. And it was
Not having that.
intense. But I guess he trusted us enough since he'd been playing with us for so long to be able to come up with stuff and get attached to our characters.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was tough
fun.
for me because I was playing a very typical, straightforward, like, fighter dude who cared about his brother. And Ryan was more so playing the character that I would play. I don't typically play an evil person, but Ryan was playing this brother that I don't know if he was a sorcerer or a warlock. I don't think he was
Cleric.
a warlock. I would have been jealous.
A
I was
cleric.
a cleric.
Just didn't want to heal you guys because I wanted you guys to die.
Yeah. I eventually was able to convince him because I roleplayed
Yeah.
so well in this one shot.
Yeah, it was great. It was super fun because I was like, you know what? It doesn't say this on the page, but what Braxton's saying right now, man, that's hitting my character's heart. And so I turned coattail and turned away from my devil pact guy.
Hell yeah. And so do you get uncomfortable if the one shot gets away from what you planned?
Not at all, honestly. I've told many people, and I'm pretty sure, Braxton, I've told you specifically, I pride myself on my RP, and if it ever gets away from me, I will immediately start, like, Sherlock Holmes finding a way to link it in and everything. I am very into people just going off the cuff, doing something crazy, and then me being able to be like, that's great, that is exactly what happens, and it leads you this way, and it's still in the story.
That's why I want Ryan
That's
to
smart.
be a player, because I feel like he would test all the buttons, because it's like reverse engineering since he is primarily a DM. Though,
Yeah.
like, once or twice I had him as a player. He's like, is there an NPC here? I talk to them, and I'm like,
It was tons of fun because, you were DMing for me, and I just thought it'd be fun because I love the RP conversations. So I was just sitting in a bar, and I just lean over and start talking to this random person. You like, had to come up with this whole NPC on the spot. That was so much
It's
fun.
super fun. It's really good to do that. And I think that we're speaking a certain way because I'm pretty sure all three of us have been in theater, which is a very certain type of,
I was in film.
yeah, basically theater.
Same idea, yeah.
Yeah. But like
kidding.
we all know improv and stuff. Some people don't as much, and that's fine.
It's scary.
It can be very challenging. In those cases, what I have done in the past when I've had those issues when I tried to run a campaign, I wrote out like a page-long list of like, these are some random names I found online. This is like who they are in a couple sentences. And if somebody goes to a bar and sits down and leans over to a random person and starts talking, look at the first person on that list and just be like, this is them. That's
This
what
sounds
we're going
very
with
similar
right now.
to a DM Binder.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh.
podcast listeners, go back out there and listen to our DM Binder episode and see
That
all
was
the
a good
things
one.
you can
Yes.
toss into it.
It's very important.
There's a thing that we constantly reference that I don't remember his name, the title of the thing, but Lazy DM's Guide. That's the thing.
Yeah, by Sly Flourish.
Follow that for one shots too. But sorry,
Follow for
RPG.
everything. That guy's great.
The biggest question I have for creating a character is whose job is it to make the spells and kind of
You're gonna say
organize that?
biggest thing about making a character, can I be a warlock?
That's assumed.
Okay. All right.
Braxton, if you ever play in one of my one shots, you have to
Don't you
play
dare. Don't you dare.
something
Don't you dare.
else.
Don't you dare.
But
I'll do a
I think-
warlock hybrid.
I think
That's
Braxton, you
fine.
bring up a good question because what if a player decides to bring a bunch of spells that have no correlation to what could possibly be happening in this one shot?
Yeah, is it okay to put restrictions in a one shot?
Or even recommendations.
Oh yeah.
So both yes and yes. If you have a person who is using spells, I don't really want to like assume that people are getting spells specifically just to cause a scene and be crazy or anything, but it has happened, and it probably will happen in the future to some people. So when that does happen, the best thing to do is don't reward them. Like if they're trying to get your one shot off the rails and they're trying to cause a ruckus and throw everything out of whack, even against the party's wishes, don't reward them. That's the easiest way to do it, is just be like, okay, you do that thing and just like nothing really happens, or like you do that thing or maybe something you weren't expecting happens. If my players ever have a question about a spell, they usually will message me right away. Or if they tell me that they're playing a class that I'm not familiar with, I'll look it up or I'll message them directly and be like, hey, what is this? Is there anything that I should know? Do you need any help? But it's just, it's kind of touchy sometimes.
For example, let's say you have planned a one-shot that is a lot more combat heavy. You're dungeon crawling, whatever. And the player brings, a bunch of RP-based spells. Would you tell them and say, hey, this is a lot more combat, maybe rethink your spells real quick before we start? Or do you just kind of leave it up?
If it's something like that, I would tell them, like, there's going to be combat in this in this session. If you feel like you aren't using as many spells for combat that you should be, then you might want to rethink it or workshop with me a way to find a use for those spells that would also work in combat. So like I'm very loose with my rules in my games. So if they want to use something crazy for something insane, if they roll well enough or I think it's really funny, then like sure, I'm all for it.
I think one shots are great for that because you can even try a bunch of cool homebrew ideas just to see how it goes.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas that, like, harkening back to the beginning of the discussion, you just throw a bunch of stuff in there. And since you were talking about...
hell, even Unearthed Arcana stuff. Toss that in for one shot.
Yeah, that's a great way to try that shit out. Maybe I
love doing that.
Oh, so good. But
yeah,
for when things go wrong, I think I kind of want to take a look at the beginning. And once everybody's got their character set up, and you've addressed the spells and we're good to go. Let's go from the starting line. I guess there's not a specific always do this when you start a one shot, but how do you like to begin your one shots? Do you have a big chunk of exposition? Do you just say roll initiative? What do you like to do?
I have planned some one-shots, or not planned, I have some skeletons for some one-shots, and a couple of them I've thought about doing just a straight-up roll initiative, and everybody's panicking, and they're like, what is this? What are we fighting? Because I love not making my character suffer, but exactly that. I love making them suffer. So that's really fun. But most of the time what I'll do is I'll just be like a short introduction to the world, a short introduction to where they are, the scenery. Maybe like if they're talking to a person or they were sent by a person, I'll mention them. But you don't want to put too much in the start, or else they'll think that every single item, every single detail is important, and then they'll get bogged down. So you want to keep it kind of light and be like, this is where you are. This is what's going on. You have been sent by this person to do this thing, blah, blah, blah. It's just easier to kind of breeze through the beginning and get into the characters interacting. That way they can start asking questions that they want to know instead of hearing things and then deciding that they have to care about it.
Yeah. It's always tough for me when I start each session. Because in a campaign, you can think of each session as a one-shot that's connected to each other. So I'll start sometimes, and I think every DM has this issue, is RP amongst yourselves. Please. And
yes.
Nobody does it.
While I look for the next thing to do. Yeah.
That is my favorite thing. And, like, I never realized it until I actually started doing one-shots. I only really started doing them, like, for holidays this past year. And my very first holiday session, I like led them into everything, and then they basically just took off and did everything, and then took the exact opposite path of what they were gonna do, but it still worked in the story, and everybody had an amazing time. And they ended up not killing the big bad, but marrying them instead. It was interesting. Yeah, it was the Halloween one shot that we told you about. It was super, super cool. And it's just, if you have moments where the characters are interacting, you don't want to railroad them away from that because they could be doing something amazing that you might want to just go with it. Just yes and them into working. Because that's
a great
what
one.
makes the one shot really work for everyone. As long as they're having fun and they're doing what they want and not being crazy, then
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask, and you just mentioned it, what makes a one-shot great? That's a very subjective thing. Everybody enjoys different stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that specific one-shot made everybody really want to interact with the world and get going?
About the Halloween one shot?
Yeah, because it seems like everybody just got into it and was
Yeah,
excited.
so the thing about that was the one where I bamboozled my players. So I told them all, like, I want you guys to play evil characters because I think it would be really, really fun. And I go very heavily with alignment sometimes, and my alignment of my characters will change because I think it's interesting. So them knowing that and me saying, hey, I want you to play evil characters, I feel like they immediately got this mindset of, oh, something is going to go down. And I basically was just like, you were hired by this person to go to this weird castle thing and find out why everyone's dead. Like, nobody's there. What's going on? And so they went in, and there was like this big murder tree, which was inspired by a Junji Ito book. This is very good. So they went down, and under the castle was this hag. There was a blood hag, and they kept calling her like Babushka or something. I don't even know. Like, she had a name. It was like Miriam or something, but they just kept calling her Babushka. So I was like, okay, all right, fine. And then they were just talking to her, and somehow, like, they were sent to like find the evil, destroy it, come back, whatever. And they were like, but we like you. We don't want to kill you. And she was like, I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. You're sent here to kill me, and you're not killing me. And then Kenneth, my lovely, wonderful boy, decided that his character would do anything for this blood hag and would even kill his entire party to protect her.
That's what she wants.
She was just like, I don't understand. I mean, okay, fine. And like, eventually all of the party was just like, we're fine with this. Like, you're chill, whatever. Like, we're super cool with you. And then one person was like, no, we were sent here to kill her, so we're going to kill her. And then it turned into a big PvP match with me literally just sitting and watching.
Oh man, I never want that to happen. My players doing fights against themselves.
Well, everybody was having a really good time though. Like, nobody was angry with each other because it was that little speck of like, you guys are all evil characters. So they went in thinking like, so if I have to kill other people, I will.
I got a question on the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think would make it a bad one shot? If some of these aspects into making something enjoyable and fun, what's a couple of things that are to avoid if you're making one?
Part of it is definitely on the DM, but part of it is for sure also on the players. So like on the DM side, you have to make sure that you're not like railroading or bogging them down with a whole bunch of information that they don't necessarily need or that isn't important at the moment or something. You don't want to force them any certain way because that's not fun to just be shown through this thing that you're supposed to be experiencing. So you have to make sure that you are a guide, but not like, you know, like you're not just forcing them through this thing, but you are saying like, this is a path that you could take, or you could also do this thing over here. But then on the player side, you really gotta feel the vibes. Because sometimes
I think it's tough in one shots to address the railroading thing.
Yeah.
And I think I want to come back to that. But Ryan, Jamie, we got some news. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. I hope everybody fears and dreads that noise every time I mention that word.
I think it's going to change a little bit every time, too. I don't think that was
keep
the
it
same.
going.
That's got to be my ringtone.
So we'll come back to railroading because I think that's something really
that's
important
for one-shots.
D&D in general, but I was doing my obligatory like look around for some D&D news, and there's some fun stuff with mostly D&D Beyond and a little bit of Wizards of the Coast stuff, and
What
then
happened?
something for those of you to use on Discord, which is also
Okay.
on D&D
Ooh.
All
Beyond.
right. One thing at a time, man. I got what's happening.
We'll get into it.
What's
There's
going
four
on? I'm
things I'll talk
overwhelmed,
about.
dude.
Okay. So, a lot of everybody right now is doing D&D through Discord or other video whatever site. I think, Jamie, you guys are doing it on Discord right now, yeah?
We're doing it on Discord, but also using Roll20 at the same time for maps.
Ooh, Roll20. So if
Yeah.
you were using mostly D&D Beyond to record your character stuff, say a lot of you have your
That's what I'm doing.
players.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you got everybody else in your campaign to put their character sheet in D&D Beyond,
Uh-huh.
or if you already have that, they released May 21st this D&D bot.
Just a few days ago.
Just a few days ago. So it's called Avray. And it's a Discord bot.
Yeah, we use Avray.
It just came out, I think, or out of beta, like an official release. I'm not
Yeah.
too sure. The
So
thing
is this
this
is an official Wizards of the Coast product?
not a Wizards of the Coast product, but it is from
D&D
D&D
Beyond?
Beyond.
Yeah, let me look.
And it started out as a thing that I think a single user was having his whole party bring into Discord and facilitate their campaign through it, and then D&D Beyond and him got connected or something along those lines. And
Good for
you
him.
can do everything in this.
Hold
the
on.
key-
Define everything.
So the key features that I really love is there's an advanced dice roller where you can have a command and type all of your dice with shortcuts. Discord bots. It takes a little bit of a learning curve. There is an initiative tracker. The DM can type some sort of initiative start thing, and everybody can roll their initiative and it'll put them in order, and the DM can type ! Next.
That's
Next
cool.
person shows up in the chat. So for people like me who run off of no video chat, Tabletop Simulator just for the map, and Discord for roles, this is great because you can also upload and integrate your character's player sheet into the bot. So if you type as yourself, save Constitution, it puts your modifiers in there, it rolls it for you, you're done, and then you get the result.
Could
You don't
I
need to
roll
do
for if as the DM? Could I roll for someone else?
See, now I don't know about that one. That's a lot of commands that are available that I
Sure.
didn't get to read
There's
through.
a lot of
I
commands in
wa-
these things.
Yeah, so I didn't want to get too far into it. But the initiative tracker is something that I really want to do because I'm trying to do what you do, Ryan, where you're like, okay, anybody get this number, and then you go down the list. This would make it so much easier. They've all already got their D&D Beyond stuff. It's free if you have admin rights to your Discord. Pop it in. There's a nice YouTube video for it. It's AVRAE Discord bot. It's avrae.io. Go there, watch the video, see if you like the commands it adds to it, and give it a check. I think it's going to be really useful. It simplifies a lot of stuff and makes it look a lot prettier than
It's
just.
super cool, yeah.
That gives the Mad Mage seal of approval, man. That's cool.
Oh, hell yeah, it does. And I think I'm currently using in my Discord, where is it? Dice Parser. And that
Competitors?
is, it's kind of a competitor. The thing we use it for the most part for, of course, in the name is dice rolling, ! 1d20 plus whatever your modifier is. So you can avoid having to add the modifier with Avray. But that's really cool. I got really excited about that. And something else that's coming up soon in the future is a player mobile app for the initial public release on D&D Beyond.
Really?
They've got one right now, and it's terrible.
Like an app on your phone?
Yes. So being able to look at your character sheet and interact with it without having to go onto the web browser that you use and use it via that. So the next update they've got, whenever that's coming out, that's at the top of their list here, is the Player Mobile app initial public release.
That's
How is that
really
just
cool.
Yeah, how is that just now being made? That seems like it should have been made ages ago.
I think they probably were trying to focus on the web app there because even if you've got a phone, you can access it from there.
True.
But I don't know. I'm just as baffled as you are.
It's also
Then
they
they've got-
recently put in their dice roller on
Yes.
on D&D Beyond, which if you have a tablet like me and Braxton do, if you have an iPad, you can actually save the browser to your home screen, so it's basically like an app.
Oh.
And just I did that. You basically just like kind of bookmark it, put it on your home screen, and you can go straight into your character sheet and roll from there.
Do you have to pay for the dice roller though? You
I
have to be a
don't.
member, I think.
You have to be a member of D&D Beyond. I'm pretty sure because
Yeah,
it's
so there's a
still
monthly
in
subscription for that.
Yeah, it's still in like beta or something, but it
Yeah,
is
it's
very
important to
useful.
Keep in mind with D&D Beyond, it can get a little pricey if
It
you already
can
own
get
the
pricey.
stuff
Yeah, it for sure
outside
can.
of the browser.
Mhm.
The Discord bot's free. Something else they've got coming up is Combat Tracker. It's gonna start going into beta. So that's
Jesus.
really, really cool.
D&D Beyond's
those
been busy.
Yeah, well, it's the time for that. They've got to retain all the users that they've gotten from the pandemic, because they're gonna go back, and they want to give tools that they can still use at the physical table if you've got a tablet.
Right.
So that's pretty much it for D&D Beyond there. But there is this D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage event
Yes,
that's going
they've
on.
done that a couple times. It's really cool.
They have. So this is coming around, I believe, starting June 18th, and there's a lot of pretty big celebrities that I have no idea about because I watch anime only, but I think there's some people from WWE, which is insane.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. I used to be
Yeah.
a very big WWE fan.
I think everybody had that phase. Even my
Yeah.
brother did, but
Never
they
did.
say, and I quote,
I wanna look this up.
WWE superstars Alexa Bliss, Tyler Breeze, Dio Madden, and then other funny people like Thomas Middleditch, Brian
Oh, cool.
Posen,
Yeah,
and other
Tom,
people. There's
yeah.
a
I think that'd be really
lot of
cool
people.
because Thomas Middleditch is really good at improv. So that'd be really cool.
So hop on to dnd.wizards.com/D&D Live 2020. This is not sponsored at all. None of this is. If you're interested in watching that, of course, it's just going to be a live stream the 18th to the 20th of June.
So they have like different shows that they do or something?
Yeah, they've got at 10 a.m. on the 18th a D&D gameplay reveal. At 12, they do the D&D adventure and product reveal with host Anna Prosser. And then
like a little
further down the line,
convention.
it is like a little convention because they can't have any right now.
They got
And then
Chris
a D&D
Perkins in
live
here.
game.
Yeah, they got a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
people.
Deborah Ann Wall is the DM that's going to be doing the stuff on the 18th. And then each different day, they've got different DMs. So that's really cool.
Cool. Oh,
So
yeah.
that's that for the Dungeons & Dragons Live 2020 Roll with Advantage. And I think there's a charity event that's going on for it.
Yes, yeah, they usually do.
Help celebrate Spirit Together, D&D Live 2020. I wish I could find Red Nose Day. So that's
Ooh,
Charities
yeah.
Involving Red Nose Day.
Yeah.
So the final thing I wanted to talk about is I think this is another sort of like play D&D with a famous dude. Now I'm going to butcher this name.
Joe
Okay.
Manganiello.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, do you know about this?
Yeah, I
I
know about it too.
Tell us about it.
I love
Cool.
Joe Manganiello. Let's just put that out there.
He's cool.
Huge fan of his. I have like Death Saves merch, which is his wonderful
Yeah.
D&D line
beautiful.
of merchandise. It's so
I
good.
got like 2 or 3 of them too.
Yeah, so I don't
It's worth
know. I don't know everything about the Play D&D with Me thing. He has been posting a lot about it on Instagram. I have been incredibly swamped at work, so I haven't actually checked it out. But I do know exactly who and what you were talking about. I do not know the
Perfect.
details.
So yeah, I've got the details. I'm glad you could give context about who he is because again,
Yeah, he's an
watch
actor.
anime. Okay, cool. What does he act in though?
Lots of stuff.
He is,
yeah.
if you know Sofia Vergara, do you know
Oh,
who
yeah,
that
yeah.
is? He
Yep.
is her husband.
Oh,
Yes.
He's been in
power couple.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're both very beautiful people.
but he's
They're
been in
intimidating.
Magic Mike, Justice
Mhm.
League.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know, he's been in a lot of stuff.
I'm a pleb. Whenever there's D&D anime news, you'll know I'll be all over it. So this is, again, to donate to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's the general idea of all the funds that are coming from this contest will be going towards that. It started the 6th, I believe, and is going until June 30th, so you have some time. This isn't a breaking news segment. This is just things that have kind of happened. So it runs until June 30th, 11:59 p.m. The winner will be announced in mid-July. So if you're interested in playing D&D with them, I think they're planning on this being in person, barring
Yes.
anything
So you,
happening.
you and a friend.
Yeah, so that's insane. If you're interested in that, just Google that guy's name.
I believe
Jamie,
it's
please say
like
it
it's
again
like
for me.
Make-A-Wish related as well.
It is,
yeah,
yeah.
it's you can find it basically anywhere. It's Joe Manganiello is his name. It's like MANG something.
Something like
Look up
that. You'll-
Sofia Vergara's husband.
It'll come up, I'm sure.
Maniello.
That one.
So
Manganiello.
you also, something that's really cool is you get a tour of Wizard of the Coast headquarters in Seattle. Lunch
Ooh.
with Joe and the crew, and you get to play with him.
Yes.
So
He's
I think that's pretty damn cool.
He is a wonderful, wonderful person. You can find it. He's posting all about it on his Instagram, on his Twitter. Just find any of his social, and there will be direct links.
Hell yeah. So you can look up that guy. So that's, I believe I went through all of my stuff there. Yeah, that was my news stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Ryan
man.
mentioned he had something.
Oh, yeah, well, I just got, it's mail day here, man. I got some mail from a Kickstarter that I had, who knows how long ago, a while ago. And it just came in, and I'm excited to delve. You know, the new book smell?
God.
Ooh, best smell in the world.
Man. But it's by Frog God Games. Do lots of really cool stuff.
What a name.
Yeah. I've backed similar stuff in the past, but they have this campaign setting called The Lost Lands, and there's this gigantic book called The World of the Lost Lands that I backed, and it just came here, and it's gigantic. If you guys ever heard of...
yeah, it's a huge book if you guys can't see what I'm seeing right now.
Look at it.
That's like Tome of Beasts level size book.
And it's, if you ever heard of Rappin' Athuk, stuff like that, the Borderland... Thank you. The Borderland provinces, they've been working on this for a long time. I mean, you guys can't see it on the call, but it's basically pages and pages of that.
Sick.
Tiny.
It's just a gigantic world. It's completely fleshed out. It's beautiful. And I'm definitely going to steal lots of stuff from this and toss it into my game. They have a PDF
really
on their website if you want to check it out. Definitely recommend their stuff.
Cool stuff. So, I mean, that's it from my news today. I commissioned another artist. They were doing $10 commissions, but I haven't asked them if I can say their name, so I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
It's also hard to say, and there's a lot of letters in it.
If you ask
for
them
pronunciation first.
Yeah, if you ask them if we can post it, I can post it on the social. And
Hell yeah.
link them because
Cool.
we support good artists.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you guys are specifically interested in a certain price point, feel free to let us know at our social, which we'll mention at the end of the podcast. Because I like looking at artists. So if you're interested in like full body headshots, things under 100, this one was $10 for a black and white half body, which if you saw their art is insane. But
That's
getting
cool.
back into railroading, I wanted to get a really beefy conversation about that because the whole idea behind a one shot, for the most part, they're special because it's an encapsulated experience rather than an entire campaign that people are co-creating together with the DM. This one shot, I would say initially the idea for them is to have the DM pop a really cool bombastic session, like a really small thing that's start and end fun and it's
the players are more or less expected to just go along with it, right?
Yes.
Not be the asshole that goes way left when everything's going right.
So I guess I wanted to open discussion with the two of you about railroading and one shots and what your thoughts were about it, because railroading, it's got a negative connotation, but it's not necessarily.
Brax and I had this exact conversation off podcast before. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, no, I do remember it.
Yeah,
because I'd say it's one of the biggest topics in D&D is railroading.
Yeah, it can be a super, super good and useful tool if you do it correctly, I would say.
What is the correct way?
See, that's very touchy because you could do it like a loose railroading is kind of what I would recommend. So you're like, this is obviously the right way to go. You can do other things, but maybe not a lot will happen if you do those other things. Partly because I haven't fleshed out that part of the world, and partly because like there's nothing going on over there. But you don't, it's like what I said earlier, you don't want to like go to a haunted house and then have somebody point out all the jump scares to you. Like it's not really fun, you know?
Yeah.
You want somebody to guide you through and be like, ooh, that room over there, that looks pretty interesting. And then, intrigue them to go that way. So it's less forcing them one way and more luring them.
Yeah, there's some do's and don'ts, I think, with railroading. When it comes to the do's, I think, for example, let's say you're expecting the players to go down the path in the forest, and there's a cave down there where the whole one shot takes place. First of all, why not just start the one shot in the cave? As the short stories say, start closest to the ending as possible. Let's say you didn't, right? And the players had to go off path back towards some city that you said they just came from. Move the cave, pick up the cave and move it down the road. Have it be back where they came from, and it just don't get so stuck in the ways that you then start panicking and freaking out. Just move it.
Ryan's such a visual speaker that sometimes I
Yeah,
wish this
just
was in
watching
video
him
format.
pick that up and
He
shove
picked
it.
up the proverbial cave
I
and
did.
moved
Yeah.
it
You
from right
gotta
screen
pick
to
up the
left
cave,
screen.
man.
But see,
But
that
That's how
makes
important this is.
that makes perfect sense. You don't. It's like how I don't know. I'm rambling. You take what I said earlier, where you make the skeleton of a story. You have a skeleton of a world. That lake might not be a lake later. It might be a castle. Who knows? Like we'll get there when we get there. But it all depends on where your characters are going. If they're having fun, don't interrupt that because that's what you want. You want them to be having fun. And if they're a little bit farther than they should be, just scooch them. Just scooch it. Be like, oh, this road's a little bit shorter than I intend it to be.
Very much be flexible. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the main
so-
point.
The thing I love always mentioning is the transition that people have. If you're a modern D&D player and you came on with 5e and you've played a lot of video games in the past. Video games, there are a lot of great games that let you do whatever the hell you want, but the entire experience, for the most part, is railroaded.
Yeah.
It's a very guided experience, unless it's an open world game where you just are plopped in there. You can go wherever, and the story is sandboxed, is created
Like Kenshi.
procedurally. Yeah, like that. But if you're playing even Dark Souls, the end of the game, I won't spoil it for any of them, but is doing X thing and it finishes. There is no if, and, or but unless there's 3 different endings. Even then, that's a railroad. So people come from video games and expect as a DM to be able to create an encapsulated experience with everything pre-designed beforehand so that the players can navigate it without deviating because this is your baby, this is your child. But D&D is a completely different medium.
Yeah, then you get the players involved.
Mm-hmm.
End of discussion. Players get involved and everything falls apart.
Yeah, so move that mountain, flick that river, and
Yeah.
toss everything
But I mean,
around.
there are some don'ts when it comes to that as well. Like if you're having an RP based encounter, don't get so stuck in how you had planned, how you as the DM envisioned that RP encounter ending. That's the only conclusion. Let the players be able to move and twist things. And like for example, Braxton and I said earlier with the one shot we were in, I morphed what my motives were because of something Braxton said. If I got so stuck in it, it might have not been as fun because it just would have been a stagnant encounter.
Yeah. So with one shots, it's a very bittersweet thing because you need to decide, like, I really want to do this amazing thing. Start them as close to your goal as possible, and then once they get on there, they're driving the car, and you're also driving a car, and you can crash into each other, but it makes a new pretty thing.
Everyone's in a
creative writing
car.
class.
They don't know where they're going. Nobody has a map.
No. Unless you give them a map, of course.
Yeah,
But for
but then
one-shots, I
that might
think-
be railroading.
I mean, you can give them a map for
Yeah.
the place. Everything's railroading and everything's
Put them
also
on
not.
a railroad.
I'm sure
It's like
somebody
that.
out there
It's
has
like the
done that.
trolley problem with the
Yeah.
lever. Yeah.
Yeah, give them tough moral decisions. That's
Yeah.
always cool. Just like with the one shot we talked about
But
before.
that is tough to do in one shots because you're not as attached to everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's more like if you have a group that you very, very much trust and you're all very good friends and they're comfortable with it, give them moral dilemmas for them to flesh out in their character and be like, do I have to kill this thing? Do I have to marry this blood hag? I'm confused. And that's juicy. Love
Let
it.
me tell you, you never have to marry the blood hag. Get out of there right now.
Kenneth didn't. He did not leave. He refused.
You don't have to be in the arranged marriage. Leave.
All hags are irrefutably disgusting. And they
Uh-oh.
love disgusting things.
Okay,
She was
Obviously,
pretty
I haven't
gross.
seen Snow White, so
Yeah.
Ryan, we literally did a podcast on hags where you explicitly stated, I think, that hags are disgusting creatures that love disgusting things.
yeah. But what about when they're in their young lady form, man?
I think
that
hags are
real?
just born an old woman.
Yeah, you can shapeshift and change yourself. You can look like a sultry young woman if you want to be.
So, I mean, let's stop off on that too with
On the sexy young ladies?
No,
Okay.
about monsters and combat and what
Okay.
of that you need to prep. I think one shots are a great way to test out unique encounters.
Mhm.
Yes.
Specifically because
Find
you're
a
jumping
cool
into
char-
anything.
Find a cool
I
creature
would-
that you like.
Definitely recommend. What is that monster that Kenneth told me about? The gelatinous cube with something else, and it like goes inside of it and it
Yeah,
regenerates. 'Cause it's-
there's-
like interesting things like that.
That is what
I
I
think
told
he was
you
talking
in our
about, like, a
combat
sl-
session.
He was talking about
Was it
like a
Ryan?
slot or something, right?
Yeah, it was Ryan mentioned
Yeah.
that. Never mind.
Unbelievable.
Oh, Kenneth
So go
told
back
me
to our
about
combat
it.
session.
So yeah.
It's my fault. I have too many friends, Ryan.
Oh, look at me! I have so
So-
many friends.
Yeah, what a problem to have, huh?
I'm just kidding. I only have virtual friends. None of them are real.
So we're not real?
No,
Oh,
I'm kidding. You're
All
my real
right.
friends. Just like the friends you make in your one shot, it's just as real. But one shots are your chance to try out really crazy out there ideas.
yes.
Or you can be homely and just have a very typical session if your usual campaign is crazy.
Or it's a
Yeah.
great way to get new people into the game. Play it with your family. Play it with your old folks.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
a
dear.
lot. It's a bunch of really big opportunities. I've actually started planning a session to run my mom and dad through because they played a type of D&D when they were younger that wasn't anything like anything that I know at all, but they played a type of D&D that their friend kind of made up. So they're super interested, and my mom just really likes dice, I guess. So I'm going to be running
Who
them
doesn't?
through something.
that's how
Yeah.
it all starts.
Yeah, I wonder where you get it from, I guess. Dice Goblin.
I mean, I have many rock collections and coin collections, so it kind of makes sense.
Well, we've said
But
before
yeah,
in the podcast, D&D is for everybody.
it really
is for
is.
everybody.
You know,
there
of course,
there
and it's
is
catered
absolutely
to you.
something. It's just like a lot of that old stereotype of the jocks don't like the nerdy games, but the Jocks Machina, if you guys have heard of that.
What?
Jocks Machina. It's let me look at the thing real quick.
It's Critical Roles, the big Travis Willingham and Joe Manganiello started it.
Yes, and Big Show from WWE was in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Which it's a bunch of really big, like strong dudes.
Buff nerdy dudes.
Just getting all nerdy and being cool and stuff. And it's very interesting to see that like it's not that they don't like this sort of thing. It's just nobody talks about the big beefy guys being all nerdy. It's really interesting. I think it's
Moral
really
of the
interesting.
story. Make a one shot, find your big beefy jock, make
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
a pretty elf sorceress character to play as.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll fall in love with Dungeons and Dragons.
Well,
That'd be great.
maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe they will.
It's okay. Maybe they will. But I think with one shots, there's so much opportunity to bring people into it, and you've got 5e, a
Yeah.
great format for people to be able to get in and make whatever rules they
As
want.
much as Braxton and I have criticized 5e,
Yeah.
it is great for getting people into the game. And
It's
that's
really
what it was
good
designed
for,
for.
yeah, it's really good for first time DMs and stuff too. It's really helpful for me to try out big, like I messaged you guys if you remember. I was using
Yeah.
dragon stats for something and I was a little bit confused.
yeah, the
because-
silver dragon.
Yeah, because I didn't really, I had never used a dragon, and for me the really big creatures are the hardest to use just because the legendary
though.
actions and the resistances and just a whole bunch of stuff is very confusing. But like, luckily I have people that I can ask about it. And in my most recent one shot, I used a beholder for the first time, and it was she wasn't very strong because everybody got off a surprise round, sadly, but it was really fun, and it sort of helped me flesh out what I could do during the struggle,
I'm
and
just
it was great.
Sorry, you say surprise round on a beholder, and all I can imagine is King of the Hill. I think it's Dale from it going pocket sand and
That's
just throwing sand from his pocket.
I feel like somebody
It's a good
did
time.
that. Somebody, I don't know. All I remember is I
the only thing you
petrified a
can do
bunch of
against
kids,
eyeballs.
but yeah, basically.
I want to use the beholder. That's all I'm saying.
You'll get there.
I
Ryan.
really
We'll
wanted to use it, but
explore
I
the
used
abyss.
beholders and I used a bunch of mimics that were disguised as eggs.
So,
I thought I used
I
mind
think-
flares for the first time this campaign, so I'm excited about
Ooh.
that.
ugh.
Not even, I only used one. I want more. Go
There were
back
there were
Braxton.
3 that showed up. We ran
I
away
didn't
though.
get to play with them though.
You were gonna murder us, which murdering in one shots is even more fun. Maybe we'll talk
Yeah,
about
kill
player death
everybody,
at some
man.
point.
Ooh.
Kill everybody.
Player
Do the
death.
things you can't do.
Love
We'll,
it.
we'll talk. We'll bring that up as a side topic at some point.
No,
But
we'll do
overall,
the
what you
main
should take, Ryan, listen. We're
Sorry,
talking.
I get excited about death, man.
We're finishing about talking about one shots. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I've learned enough.
Alright.
And those of you that maybe if you're somebody who listens to this podcast, you're either like me, you suck at them, or you've never played D&D, and you've listened to all of our stuff at this point. Use this time now to start thinking of a one shot. If you've got
Right
some
now.
friends you want to do it with, talk to them about it after you've prepped it a bit, because it's always easier to actually do it once you've got a couple of ideas.
You've already got step 1. You got friends.
You got
Boom.
friends. Get
That's
going.
sometimes the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of D&D forums now that you can find people with. But
Yeah.
if you've
Also,
got an
local
idea
game
for-
shops.
yes,
Local game
pop
shops.
onto those whenever they're open again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So support them.
If you've got a great idea for a one shot or something that you guys think we left out for the one shot episode here, or you wanted to tell Jamie how great she's doing on social media and how awesome she did on this episode, send us a message at one of our social media handles at Dungeon Girl Pod.
Damn
On
straight.
Twitter and the and the Instagram, or on Gmail. You can send us an email at thedungeongirlpod@gmail.com.
Because we just wanted to be confusing with having a "the" on one of our handles.
Ryan did it. Wasn't
Yeah, it
I
was
didn't do it.
Yeah.
There's also Discord too, right?
There
Yeah,
is
there's
a
Discord.
Yeah, people can
Can
hop on
find that-
Discord too.
You can find that doobly doo.
Come waffle with us and the Mad Mage.
Yeah, I
So-
know you guys. I know you're sitting at home on your computers. Hop on Discord. Hang out with us.
There's literally a waffle text channel. What else could you
Mhm.
want?
There's
Yeah.
also questions. If you have any questions you want us to answer on the old podcast here, please drop it in that cool little text channel. Leave us a 5-star review, only 5 stars. I don't want to see any 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, and hell no with the 1-star reviews.
I
Leave
will
us a
hunt you
5-star
down
review.
personally.
Leave us a 5-star review. The Mad Mage definitely will too. 5-star
yeah.
reviews. Tell us the Mad Mage of Kavara sends his regards. That'd be great. It helps us out a lot. And
Yeah, we've
That's
done
all
a
I got,
dungeon crawl. He's Ryan. That's Jamie.
he's Braxton.
I
Yeah.
do that thing.
Yeah.
She's not used to
Any
our
last
things
words,
that we
Jamie,
do.
before you disappear?
back
Before
into the
Braxton,
void.
tosses you back out, desummons you.
I mean, my cat's trying to jump up into my lap, so I don't know.
Hopefully the cat's coming with you on this.
Yeah.
My cat's
summon.
name is Wizard.
My cat's name is Wizard, and she's going to whisk me away to the wonderful
are the
world
odds?
of magic.
I have a cat
So fine.
that just jumped on my lap. What's going on here?
Whoa!
I'm gonna wallow in my sadness.
Yeah,
as
Braxton
the
has no
podcast
cat.
Ends. I have no cat.
Aw.
Take care, buddy. Find your cat and pet them.
Yeah.
See you next week, everybody.
Deuce.